Welcome to the Get Real Podcast, your high-octane boost of full-on reality therapy for personal, business, and investing success with your host, Ron Phillips, because somebody's got to tell it like it is.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Get Real Podcast. Ron Phillips here. I have a special guest today. It has taken me 3 years to get her to join the podcast. But I'm excited to have my wife, Bobbi Jo, on the show today. Welcome, baby.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I've been thinking quite a bit over the past, probably year. There's a lot of people, you probably know people in your life, who the economy has not been great to. They're having problems. Maybe you're having some challenges. I talked Bobbi Jo into coming on the show because I wanted to talk through some of the challenges that we've had and maybe give you some tactical things and some maybe not so tactical things that you could do to find yourself successful again or successful for the first time, whatever it is, right? So when was it about? Just like 2011, we found ourselves, and I think I've told this story on the show a little bit before, but we were not in good shape. I mean, I think that's like probably an understatement of the facts, but we found ourselves in a financial situation. We also found ourselves in I was out of my company that I'd worked, 7 years building. We had nothing, no credit cards, nothing. We had nothing. And talk to me about what was going through your mind when all of that kind of went down.
Well, it was scary when that all kind of started happening, especially since it was 2 weeks before Christmas and there was going to be nothing for our kids for Christmas. It was hard.
Yeah. So when that went down, we had some pretty big decisions to make. I remember, the immediate decisions were, we don't have any money. We've got a lot of expenses. We were living very comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the main decisions was, man, we got to sit the kids down and talk to
Explain to them about Christmas that year.
Yeah. As a man, I can tell you that was not fun. It's not a conversation you ever want to have because my job is to protect and provide.
No, but we were honest with them and told them, and they understood.
Yeah, we had the benefit. So here's the other thing. And I want to kind of circle back to where we came from, but for just a second, because of what you said, our kids had been raised. I mean, I was traveling for like the last 7 years. Bobbi Jo had instilled in them some level of maturity to the point where they could understand something like this and what was happening. And that level of maturity to be able to be, while probably very disappointed, okay with the situation.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's worth underscoring that while I was away trying to provide, Bobbi Jo was instilling in our children things that they will probably use for their entire lives, which was great for me because it made things a little bit easier on me for sure. Okay, let's move back to now we have this situation. So we chatted with the kids, but that wasn't the end of it, right? We had really no savings, which was
We had nothing.
stupid on our part, but we didn't. We were putting a lot of money back into the company. We were putting, we tried to buy assets, but we were very cash poor, which incidentally is not a great place to be. But we also, I remember listening to Dave Ramsey one time about credit cards. You remember this?
Mm-hmm.
And we had gotten in trouble with credit cards early on in our marriage. I mean, not trouble, but we had racked up a little bit of debt. I didn't ever want to do that again. And when I heard Dave Ramsey say you shouldn't have credit cards, I was like, well, yeah, that makes sense. Until we needed the credit cards. And then we didn't have them. So what did we do?
Well, we had some food storage, and we lived off of that for, I think, 3 months.
Yep.
So we had extra food stored. We turned off all the non-essential things like cable and anything that
Pretty much anything fun.
Yeah.
Um,
We just cut it down, cut it way back.
Yeah. And I remember, I had this amazing Jeep. It was so much fun. We would take it up into the canyons. It was lifted, gigantic tires. It was a blast.
And that was fully paid off. That was one thing that we did have that we didn't know anything on.
So away went my Jeep. I guess our Jeep, we had a lot of fun in it, but I loved that Jeep. It was a lot of fun. And it was so cool. It was so cool. We'd spent a lot of money. So we sold that to pay the mortgage.
Yeah, we used that to
fund everything. For quite a while. And so recently there's been a hurricane. There have been several, but there was one in particular. It hit North Carolina, a little bit of South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida, but North Carolina got just waylaid. And in an area where nobody would expect that they would get hit. So that's why I bring up the this emergency food that we had. We've had it for years.
We have it again.
We have it now. We have more of it now too. I think, and one of the things that came out of this hurricane, and I heard several people say, is make sure you have food and water stored.
And medicine.
And medicines, any of your medicines that you might need, because you can't get anything when something like that happens. And so that's what we thought. We thought we were storing this for the zombie apocalypse, or, something like that would happen in North Carolina, or an earthquake, or, something. Mm-hmm. Turns out that our natural disaster was man-made. It was man-made. But boy, we were happy to have that food.
Yeah.
And just so you know, explain this food, babe. This is good stuff.
It was it dehydrated or just
freeze-dried?
Freeze-dried or prepackaged food. So it lasts for 20, 25 years. And so there's different dinners in there, like beef stroganoff and pastas and so all kinds of stuff. And
if you go to REI or anywhere like that and you get the little camping, like the freeze-dried camping packets that you take out of the woods, and you make those while you're backpacking because they're super light.
That's it.
That's what we ate for 3 months. And my wife is an amazing cook. She's an unbelievable cook. So we're used to remarkable food at our house. We did not have remarkable food for 3 months, but we were happy to have that.
Yep.
And it was okay.
And the kids didn't complain about it. They just ate it because they knew we told them what was going on to an extent, not to worry them, but they had to know a certain amount. And I think they appreciated knowing and being a help and supporting.
So
that way,
I think, for anybody who's in that situation, the most important thing is to be, we were, it's the right word, aggressive, but it's more than aggressive. We were out of control at cutting expenses. We cut to the absolute core of what a family would need to survive. That's what we cut down to. to try to make the money last as long as it could. Lessons from what I would say financially is that I would definitely have credit cards. We have credit cards now. We pay them off every month, but my gosh, that would have made things much easier. I would, even if I had a credit card, I would still cut to the bone because you never know how long you're going to be in that situation.
Yep.
And then we had several conversations about what to do next, like what was next for me, for us. You remember those conversations?
I do.
How did they go?
I think you were a little hesitant about starting anything new up for yourself. You had asked me what I thought about it, about you going to get a job or you starting over again on your own. And I thought you should start again on your own because you'd already done it once and I knew you could do it. But
Yeah.
I think that was a little scary at the same time because we started with nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I came from a multi-million-dollar business where we had enough money to be able to advertise and do the things that you need to be able to do to be able to run that business. And so it was very scary for me to try to figure out how to make that happen without any of those resources. But I had unbelievable support. And so again, when you're in that situation, financially, cut to the bone, fastest path to cash. Those are the two things I think are most important. So fastest path to cash, cut everything to the bone. And then it's, who do you surround yourself with? And early in my life, I chose to marry way up, and I had a massive support system at home. And going back to what Bobbi Jo had done while I was away for 7 years, basically, she instilled the same thing in my kids. So when we sat down and talked to the kids, you remember those conversations?
Yeah, they told you to go for it.
Yeah, they were the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I had amazing support at home.
And lots of prayers.
Yes. And a lot of support from some very close friends. So again, I can't stress enough how important, fixing the financial piece as quickly as possible, but also leaning on the people who are your friends. In that situation, friends and family were massive support for us, for me specifically, but for us. And then the next thing was to sit down and try to figure out how to make this work, which was not easy. You can imagine we had no money, and my experience was that you send out very expensive mailers, you get people to come and hear you speak, and from those speaking sessions, you sell real estate. That's what I knew how to do. Well, we didn't have any money for any of that.
No.
I did have two people that came with me from the other company.
Two good loyal friends.
Really amazing friends. And they helped me dramatically. One of them worked for free for, I don't even know how long, 3 or 4 months, I think. She was amazing. She knew how to do the marketing and a lot of the stuff.
She did it all.
And then I had another one who was an incredible still is an incredible salesman. And they came with me, and that also gave me a level of comfort to be able to make this happen. But the way that we came up to do, and this is so creative problem solving is a skill that I think is overlooked in the world. That, we sat down and we tried to figure out how to make this work. And I'm going to explain to you how we did it. But I think this is the piece that really makes it all happen, because after you cut everything to the bone and after you pump yourself back up and you're going to go do something, you have to execute. And I love all these people that say they're self-made. There's nobody is self-made. Not a soul on the planet is self-made. I wouldn't be where I'm at today without all of the people that and tons more people that I couldn't even begin to quantify. But it all started at home, right? And massive support system at home. So, babe, do you remember how we did this? Do you remember what we did to actually get that first event off the ground?
Yes.
Go ahead. I'll fill in the details.
You'd reached out to a good friend of yours, out in the West.
Yep.
And, got him to help you fill some rooms, and then I think you booked the travel on credit cards, right?
Southwest points,
and
Marriott points.
Went out there and presented.
It was, I remember feeling quite a bit of pressure because if that didn't work, and we didn't have like a plan B. There wasn't a plan B. We took all of the chips, including my friend's chips, and we pushed them all into the table. And, it was pretty cool. He was confident in us too, which made a big difference. But we went out on Southwest points. We flew out there on Marriott points. We get all of the rooms, including the room that we did the presentation in, all the food, everything we booked on Marriott points. And my friend paid for the mailer that got everybody in the room. And it was a phenomenal success. And then we did that with him a couple more times. And then we had enough money to do it on our own. It was really, really cool how that all came together. But it was creative problem solving, right? It was, trying to figure out how to do this because I couldn't use the business that I had left. I couldn't use those clients. They weren't mine. They were from the other company.
And you did not use them.
And I didn't. I never competed with him. I never took anything from him. We completely started over from scratch. And I think that made it all the more sweet that it was that we had all done it together. And that year we did amazingly well. And that was kind of the beginning of the restart of everything. And the pressure started to come off after about, I don't know,
it was
4 or 5 months.
It was pretty fast.
Yeah. So I wanted to, we wanted to share this with you guys because either you or somebody is going through a time because of the economy and the things that are happening in the world where it's probably nice to know that people who you listen to on podcasts and people who, for whatever reason you look up to, because they're successful. And I mean, not just me, anybody out there, we've been through it. We understand. And on the other side, can and should be remarkably wild success. What other words of wisdom do you have for people, babe? I told her that I was not going to put her on the spot at all.
Oh boy.
But she helps me in ways that she doesn't understand. I think that maybe she helps me, but we got to build our lives the way we wanted them. And we got to do that because she pushed me to go do this and start over again.
I wouldn't say push. I believed in you.
Yeah. Yeah. Pull? Yeah. Walked with me. Might have been in front of me a couple of times, though. I'm not going to lie about it because it was nerve-wracking. Yeah. Any other final comments, babe, about digging out of a hole? This isn't the only one, by the way. No, that's okay. Well, I I just want you guys to know that no matter what happens, how you react to what happens, what you decide to do about what happens, some things that happen are unfair. Doesn't make any difference whether they're unfair or not. Once it happens, you have a choice. You can either become a victim or you can become a victor. And the way that you think about those things, and the way that you act afterwards is the most critically important piece. So if you're in it, or if you know somebody who's in it, if you're in it, then get out of it. We just told you several ways to get out of it. Get around people who can help you, emotionally and in every other way. And if you know somebody who's in that situation, be that friend that I had back in the day who helped me in a multitude of ways. And if you're in the position where you're thinking about who you're going to spend the rest of your life with, choose wisely. And on that happy note, till next time, get out there and make something happen.
This has been the Get Real Podcast. To subscribe and for more information, including a list of all episodes, go to getrealestatesuccess.com.